Hey team, and welcome to another exercise capsule. This week we're going to go over jumping and landing. Now jumping and landing is really important, especially when we're jumping for the ball in the air or where we're jumping from a line out. And our landing is really important because it helps us stop injuries. Now, when we're jumping, we want to be making sure that we're jumping with the right technique and that we're landing with the right technique. And that's what we're going to go over today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take us through our skill, then we're going to go through our drill, and then I'm going to show you how you can apply it to rugby. Firstly, we're going to go over our jumping technique. Now when we're jumping, we want to be standing shoulder width apart, so about this width. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bend our knees, push our hips backwards, almost like we're in a squat position. We're going to have our arms facing down, and we're going to throw them behind us, and as we come up, we're going to swing them nice and high. This is what we call our triple extension. So what I want you to do is practice bending at the knees, pushing hips backwards, and throwing arms up nice and high. After you've got the hang of that team, now we're going to add it into a jump. So what I want you to do is bend at the knees, pushing hips backwards, having our arms behind us, and we're going to throw them forward and jump nice and high. I want you to push your hips through at the top of the jump. So we'll try that again. Feet shoulder width apart, knees bent, hips back, arms by our side, swinging them forward, pushing hips through, and a nice soft landing. Now that we've got the hang of our jump technique, team, now we're going to focus on our landing. Now when we land, you want to picture that we're landing on a really soft surface, so we don't want to go through it. We want to be making sure that we're catching our weight through our hips. So when we're doing that, what we want to do is as we land, we're coming down, we want to bend at the knees, pushing hips backwards, almost back into that same position we started in, and then coming back up. So what I want you to do is practice jumping in one spot and then landing in the same spot, going over that technique. So feet shoulder width apart, pushing hips backwards, bending at the knees, arms by our side, throwing hands up nice and high, nice soft landing, catching my weight with my hips. When we land, team, we want to be landing toe to heel. So what that means is we want to be landing on the ball of our foot and rolling our heel backwards onto the ground. So as we land, we want to jump and then toe to heel. We want a nice soft landing. You almost shouldn't be able to hear it. So when we jump, nice and quiet, as opposed to a big slap on the ground when we go like this. All the force is going to come up through my body, whereas opposed to landing toe to heel, we're using and controlling that force. Now a couple of weeks ago we went over the skill of jumping for the high ball, and this is really similar to how we can incorporate our jumping and landing techniques into rugby. So when we're jumping for a ball, we want to be making sure that we're getting our feet right and that we're bending at the knees, throwing our hips backwards as we come up to catch the ball. We want to be making sure that our arms are getting nice and high, so that way when we're coming up, we're able to catch the ball. The only difference is that when we're catching a high ball, we want to be making sure that we're looking at the ball the whole time, and that when we're stepping into it, we want to be making sure that our feet are short and quick. That way we can change direction if needed. And when we're landing, the technique stays the same. So when we land catching a high ball, what I want you to do is still land toe to heel, and that way we're ready to go for our next play. As opposed to landing on our heels, then we're going to get a bit of force going through our body, and that's not good. So what I want you to do is practice throwing the ball up to yourself and then catching it using those landing and taking off techniques. So a few key points is that when we're jumping for the ball, we want to be making sure that we're landing toe to heel, and that when we're jumping, we're pushing our hips backwards, bending at the knees, and driving our hips through the jump. Making sure that we're getting our arms up nice and high. But remember, when we're jumping for a ball, we want to be making sure that our eyes are on the ball at all times. Well done, team. Make sure you practice those jumps at home, and I'll see you next week.